Growing population, rapid urbanization, socioeconomic pressures are increasing the demand for water. And of course, we know with all this, there's more and more need for water. While climate change, declining water availability, and extreme weather events threaten our food chains and food security, livelihoods, and resilience. Responding to all this, escalating challenges requires more than technical solutions. We cannot just bring certain technical solutions that are developed at pilot scale. It's a much wider challenge. It requires strong partnerships, shared responsibilities, and coordinated actions. No single organization or entity possesses all the solutions, mandates, or capacities, or resources needed to address the interconnected challenges of water and food security in our region. This is why partnerships are the cornerstone, bringing together comparative advantages, diverse expertise, capacities, and perspectives to deliver collective impact. So we need to get together from all who are with us here today and the colleagues participating in the Water Scarcity Initiative. As a partnership platform, the FAO Regional Water Scarcity Initiative was launched almost 12 years ago with the objective of strengthening collaboration among partners, promoting integrated planning, and fostering cross-sector dialogue. Building on this foundation and with the leadership of FAO, a flagship multi-partner, multi-country program was jointly designed and is now being implemented by FAO, ESCWA, UNICEF, ICARDA, ICBA, and IUMI, with generous funding from SIDA. Together, we are working in 9 countries: Algeria, Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, Morocco, Palestine, Syria, Tunisia, and Yemen. The program is anchored to the regional priorities of the region, which is set by the Ministers of Agriculture and Water at the region, and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, contributing directly to the goals of poverty reduction, zero hunger, clean water and sanitation, and climate action, life on land, and partnerships. Its design is built around 3 strategic outcomes. 1, strengthening governance of agricultural water, enhancing the resilience of food systems and water services to climatic actions or climate change, and promoting regional cooperation and knowledge exchange. This dedicated track that we are here today at Cairo Water Week serves as an important platform to present and inform on the Regional Water Scarcity Initiative program. Over 2 days, 6 technical sessions, each led by one of our core partners, will cover thematic areas addressed by the program, such as strengthening groundwater governance and resilience of water basins, piloting improved water allocation frameworks, advancing sanitation safety planning for wastewater reuse, and developing geospatial capacities to bridge data gaps. Other topics will include ensuring sustainable wash, accelerating water reuse, promoting water-wise agriculture in dry lands regions, and advancing biosaline agriculture and drought preparedness through salinity management and best practices. And we don't stand there, because we're linking the Water Scarcity Initiative programs with our strategies on drought, on climate change, on early warning, and all the other packages that the FAO runs at the region as well. Together, these sessions of today and tomorrow reflect the richness of expertise and innovation that each partner contributes, and more importantly, the added value of working collectively under one coordinated program. As we open this track today, let me reaffirm on behalf of the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, and the core implementing partners, our shared commitment to transform the challenge of water scarcity into opportunities for resilience, sustainability, and prosperity for countries in the region. Finally, it is important to highlight that bringing together technical expertise and government officials is key to strengthening the science policy interface, which is paramount for informing decision-making. I look forward to the 2 days track. And before I close, and the presentations and the panel discussions, and of course the recommendations, I want to mention two things. One, the Water Scarcity Initiative and the interregional platform for water scarcity that is set up by the regional office of the FAO for the Near East and North Africa is representing the global FAO effort on water scarcity. We had a special program set by the headquarters on who takes priority from each region. The Near East and North Africa, for known reasons, was given the duty of taking care of water scarcity on behalf of FAO globally. So what we do here is completely conveyed to our colleagues in Latin America, Europe, Africa, Asia Pacific. And it's all coordinated by the regional office of the Near East. And that's where the inter-regional platform sits. The second part is I am very confident I have a strong team led by Mohammed Al-Hamdi. You all know Dr. Mohammed Al-Hamdi. He leads the water scarcity team, and he has Muhammad Abdullah Hisham, now start naming people. So we have many, and there are new jobs. Very important that we recognize that there's a team that is fully geared, and it's probably one of the solid teams that we have in the regional office with the many teams. It addresses all water scarcity related issues. And that gives us moreness, as well as the implementing partners and also the beneficiary countries at the regional office ready at your hand. So wish you all the best, great success, and looking forward for the discussions and the outcome of these 2 days on the FAO track through the Cairo Water Week. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Partnership, and the importance of the Water Scarcity Initiative. North Africa. Now I'm honored to invite Ms. Anna Rosendahl, the head of Regional Development Cooperation at the MENA region, representing CEDA, for her opening remarks. Ms. Rosendahl, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Yeah, good afternoon. Excellencies, honored partners, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Sweden, it's an honor to be here with you today for the opening of this important series of sessions that will focus on what we can achieve if we work together in a strategic and well-coordinated approach to addressing one of the key issues facing the region, water scarcity. I would like to start by extending my sincere appreciation to the core partners of the Water Scarcity Initiative, who have shown flexibility in the initial phase of the joint program, handling unexpected constraints and coming together here in Cairo to make these sessions possible. This reflects a shared commitment to addressing one of the most pressing development challenges for the MENA region, and is a positive sign for the upcoming year of close collaboration. The MENA region is no stranger to adverse security in the world and a climate that is becoming drier and hotter. Without timely and effective measures, these climate-induced effects on water resources could result in significant economic loss, threatening livelihoods, food security, and could lead to large-scale migration, food insecurity, sorry. However, adapting to these challenges in the water sector is no simple task. Adaptation efforts remain a significant hurdle due to the inherent complexities in predicting the future availability of water and the interconnected nature of water systems. Water that link to agri-urban developments and the daily lives of people. This complexity makes it difficult to apply a one-size-fits-all approach. But the starting point is to know what resources are available and how these scarce resources are currently being used. Understanding how much water is available and how this water can be allocated is essential for taking informed decisions on how these resources can best be put to use. This is especially important in the agriculture sector, which uses more than 70% of the MENA region. Available water resources, security, and support economic development. The agriculture sector, from farm to fork, is the main source of employment in the region, providing livelihood opportunities for the most poor and the most vulnerable. And agri-related value chains present important opportunities for economic growth and diversification. But none of these crucial elements to the social and economic fabric of the communities we aim to support would be possible without sufficient water. In response to these challenges, the League of Arab States, with the support of FAO, UNICEF, ESCWA, and the Arab Organization for Agriculture Development, have taken important steps to develop cross-sectorial policy and build the institutional capacity needed for its implementation. Truly important work that will continue this week during the third ministerial meeting and during the high-level joint water and agriculture technical committee meeting. We will also focus on exciting technical developments in the upcoming days, crucial issues like ICPAS, building climate smart agriculture through saline water and soil solutions for drought preparedness, ICARDAS, water-wise agriculture, bridging research and practice in dryland regions, and IVMI, accelerating water reuse in MENA, leveraging data for national plans and strategies. All themes and issues that are very relevant to the topic of this 8th edition, time when grant resources are becoming more scarce. It is important to improve coordination, strengthen partnerships, and reduce bureaucracy and transaction costs. Joint programming of a consortium of exceptional organizations based on equal partnership and additionality is a way to make our funding more impactful and implementation more efficient. I would like to thank FAO for your role of a coordinator of this initiative. Sweden, we will remain dedicated to the support of the water management in the MENA region, and the Water Scarcity Initiative is the cornerstone for this objective. As a development actor, Sweden's mission is to create better living conditions for those living in poverty and under oppression. And this flagship program will contribute to those long-term objectives. Sweden, we remain deeply committed to partnering with regional actors in advancing the water agenda. By joining forces, we can mobilize the necessary resources, scale innovative solutions, and build a resilient future for the MENA region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Rosendal, for your inspiring words and for your continued support to the Regional Water Scarcity Initiative program. To conclude this opening session, I'm happy to invite Mr. Mohammed Al-Hamdi, the FAO Senior Land and Water Officer and Delivery Manager of the Regional Water Scarcity Initiative, for a brief about the program and the track as well. So, Dr. Hamdi, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you, Mohammed, for the introduction. And I'm not going to be giving a speech. Of course, I cannot give a speech after our distinguished speakers, but what I would do is give an overview of the program. So I have a presentation, I have a PowerPoint presentation that will only take around 5 minutes. I just want to put everyone within the frame, the mindset of what is this program about. So as was mentioned, the start of this initiative actually came from previous projects. We had a so-called WEPS project, the Water Efficiency, Productivity and Sustainability Project, which was funded by the Swedish government. And there was also other projects like the ReWater project in EMI, there was the ReCar project in ESCWA, and each of those regional projects were dealing with issues related to water. So the logical thing was,
I'm heading to Rome, and there will be a high-level session on the Rome Water Dialogue that has taken place on the 15th. And most of the ministers you met here today are traveling to Rome to participate in that session on the Rome Water Dialogue. I am moderating the session for the high level with the ministers. So I'll bring them the outcome of your session here and use that as a basis for moderating the sessions with the high level ministers attending in that session. Thank you. And excuse taking permission from colleagues I wish to be here with you. Shukran.
So thank you, Dr. Alwar, for coming to the opening. As I was mentioning, so we had several regional projects. We also had a global project, the Vapor project, which is also a project on water, looking at geospatial technology to estimate water productivity using satellite imagery, etc. So, and many of our countries are benefiting from that Vapor project, although it is a global project. So we do have many regional projects, and we thought that the logical thing is to come together. So instead of having different projects scattered with different organizations, the idea is to come and do a program. And that was the initial idea of let's design a program, and we call it Water Scarcity Initiative Program. And and it overlaps what we do at the initiative itself. Yeah, so we've heard many times that the region is really the most water scarce region in the world. Agriculture consumes a lot of the water available, and eventually water will become under stress because that is where most of the water is. So with demand growing, agriculture is inevitably going to lose some of that water that is allocated to it. The Regional Water Scarcity Initiative was launched in 2013 in Amman, and the aim is to really help the countries manage scarcity of water resources more efficiently, sustainability, and also looking at resilience of the agricultural systems. Not to mention that during the launch of the Water Scarcity Initiative, 20 organizations came together and signed a pledge to work together in a coordinated manner to help overcome the Water Scarcity Initiative. So the Water Scarcity Initiative in itself, from the very start, was a collaborative platform. Yeah. So as I mentioned, we coming from that background, we where we في حاجة غلط في who is playing with no. Yes. No. One more. انا بكليك وما بيحصلش حاجه. دي اخر لا سلايد. This is the last slide. طيب ما تشغلها من عندك وانا I will tell you to go next. Can you go before? So go before. No. Back. Back. Yes. Thank you. So yeah, as we mentioned, we developed the program together with ESCWA, IGARDA, IGBA, EMEA, and UNICEF, and the 9 countries, as Dr. Alwar mentioned them. Seven of them were already included in the previous WEPS project. And of course, the resource partner for the time being is CEDA, and we are hopeful. This was designed as a multi-donor trust fund. So within our system in FAO, this is a multi-donor trust fund, and we're seeking the involvement of other donors to come and also contribute to this program. The three components, main components of the program is on governance, on resilience, and on knowledge. These are the main 3 outcomes. And the alignment with the global and regional agendas is of course, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the strategic framework of FAO, the League of Arab States strategy on water and agriculture. So you can see that we're anchored in the regional intergovernment process, in the global process, and we are we're as a group, a multi-partner, a multi-donor, and a multi-country program. Next. No, next. This is back. Next. Yes. So the program itself was launched in the COP28, where we had the donors, we had the countries, and we had the partners coming together, and we had an inception phase. The program initially started in January 24, and we had a 9-month inception period for the fact that we had not secured all the funding that were required for the program, and that inception phase was lengthened until the end of 24. In 25, early 25, we had signed all the agreements with all the partners, and now implementation is on place, ongoing. As I mentioned, it has 3 outcomes, 17 outputs, and we will look at those, and they translate into around 70 activities. Next. So this is the outputs of the program, and you can see the diversity, the scope of this program. It is very ambitious. It looks at water governance in terms of water allocation, groundwater governance, non-conventional water resources, policy coherence, institutional coordination, and then it looks at the tools, water accounting, water productivity assessment tools, It looks at food loss and waste. It looks at drought preparedness and management, saline agriculture, wash services and reuse of wastewater for agricultural reuse, climate change policy planning. It looks at knowledge development together and transfer and dissemination of that knowledge. So it is really a very comprehensive program that for the time being we have downscaled to fit the available funds. But once available funds come from donors, we can back upscale to the original program. Next. This is the institutional structure. And you can see we have 9 countries, we have national coordinators, and I'm happy that some of the national coordinators of the countries are with us today. In each country, we have an FAO focal point from our office. We have in each country focal points from the partners who are working in that country, because not the six partners are not working in all 9 countries. So you can imagine how heavy the coordination process is. And we have a unit, an implementation program unit here in the regional office of FAO. And to do this at the field level, at the country level, this coordination really is time consuming, and it's needed because we really need to do this correctly. So we do have focal points from the partners. We do have focal points from FAO. We do have national coordinators. We have regular meetings at the country level, regular meetings with the partners at the regional level. And of course, we do have other partners who are not mentioned here, the League of Arab States, the Arab Organization for Agricultural Development, who are within the steering committee of this process as well, because the intergovernmental process is an integrated part of this program as well. Next. Now, I just wanted to show this table because this is the table for the program today and tomorrow. We actually have set up a system where we do have session per partner to display, to present what they do within the program. And this is the schedule for it. We've eaten a little bit of time from the ESCWA session, sorry, for the opening. But today we have ESCWA, and then in the afternoon and the same room. So we'll be here throughout the 2 days. And then in the afternoon, we will have the FAO session. And then tomorrow we have 4 sessions for UNICEF, EMI, CARDA, and IGBA. And they are all going to be 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, all convened here at the same room. So that you please join us if you want to learn. And you see the topics that they will be discussing is very diverse based on the comparative advantage of those participating partners. I think this is the last slide, so thank you. And if there are presentations, this is not going to work. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alhamdi, for your brief on the program and setting the stage for the 2-day program. Please remain seated. Now we'll start with the first technical session by ESCWA. ESCWA is leading, so I now we've concluded the opening segment of the opening, and then I call my colleagues from ESCWA to take the lead for their technical session.
مساء الخير عليكم جميعا. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Hamul Amrani from ESCWA. It's my pleasure to moderate this first session after the opening. I'm pleased to have with us distinguished panelists. Have a limited time for this session that has the ambition to cover one of the key issues in where the region is facing. water governance, one of the biggest challenges in the region. The session will try to address, and it will also look into how to make the groundwater and surface water resilient to climate change. So with no due delay, I will call my colleague Ziad Khiyat, Senior Sustainable Development Officer for Water in ESCWA, to deliver a statement on the project components on improving resilience of surface water and groundwater basins in the Arab region. Dr. Ziad, the floor is yours.
I think we're hearing. That's fine. This is working. Thank you, Hamo, and thanks to all of the partners and to FAO, especially for the opportunity to start with this. We have a shorter session, but we're after the opening, so I think we get the benefit of the crowd. So we're happy with that. If we could share the presentation, I'll just give a quick overview of what our component, ESCWA's component, is in this water scarcity initiative. And as Mr. Al-Wair and Muhammad indicated, that this builds a lot on the advantages of several organizations, but also builds on programs that we've been implementing in the region, builds on the knowledge that has been gained through these programs. So we're continuing with programs we're building. You'll see in these components, we're building on programs that we've implemented before on climate change, like the RICAR initiative. We're building on work that we've done on groundwater governance, knowledge in the region. Could I have the presentation, please? ممكن okay. So I don't know. I won't try the clicker, so I'll just say next. So this component looks at improving the resilience of surface water and groundwater basins in the Arab region. تالي بعده. معيش clicker. ممكن. Okay, so I won't go into the launch of the Regional Water Scarcity Initiative. So basically, there's two components that we will be looking at, as I said, enhancing groundwater governance and improving climate change policy planning and adaptation strategies. So both of these build on work that we've done and also builds on the generous support of the government of Sweden for these programs that we've already implemented in the region with many partners. And FAO, ACSAD are with us here in this. Next. So I'll just go quickly and I'll give the chance to many of our representatives here to go deeper into this. So the first component is enhancing groundwater governance. So basically this component looks at developing a regional methodology for a participatory assessment of groundwater governance. So we will develop a methodology. This is how it will start. We have already worked, and our consultant will talk about this briefly. We'll talk about this methodology of assessment. We will test this assessment methodology on groundwater governance in one basin in Morocco. Based on that, we will refine that methodology, develop a practical guideline on groundwater governance, how to improve governance in a participatory framework on a basin. Also go back to the same groundwater aquifer in Morocco and test these guidelines. And based on the results that we get on these, we will refine the guidelines and the assessment methodology and take this back up to the policy level at the regional level to be implemented in other countries in the region. So this is the groundwater governance. Testing, assessing groundwater governance, testing that assessment, developing guidelines for improving groundwater governance, testing those, having a feedback, and then adapting these for a regional level and to be implemented in other countries in the region. Next. Okay, inshallah. Okay. So it looks like it's working. So the second component is, again, building a lot on the RICAR initiative that we've implemented in the region and the vulnerability methodology that we have. So building on that, we will look at a surface basin in Tunisia. And Mr. Sinan here will talk about the Majerda Basin. And we've implemented these in other basins in the region. So this will look at climate projections in that basin, looking at vulnerability assessment of the different sectors impacted and depending on water, based on RECAR outputs and the methodology developed there. And based on this vulnerability assessment, we will develop a resilience package. We've done this before, where you develop resilience package for hotspots that countries can build on to improve the resilience of the communities in the basin level. So this is quickly the methodology and the components that we are looking at. Again, this will feed back at the regional level, policy to be implemented, and as a guide to other countries in the region. So just to give you, I talked a lot about things that we've done. So this is what we've done. We've set up an Arab in the recent years, an Arab groundwater knowledge platform, which houses a lot of information on the region, on groundwater, on policies. We've developed policy guidelines, and we've done a lot of assessments on groundwater, whether with the climate change impact modeling on groundwater with ACSAD, we've done that training, whether on estimating the amount of groundwater used for agriculture, whether on using GRACE data to look at groundwater storage decline in the region. And most recently, we've worked with Dr. Walid on setting up a hydrological modeling community of practice that's in the start. So in terms of climate change assessments of what we will be doing, we've done this previously in 3 basins under the, also with partnership with FAO and funding with Sweden. In Lebanon, Nahr al-Kalb watershed, where we looked at the climate change vulnerability in that basin and came up with a set of projects that were costed. And I'm happy to report that the government of Lebanon, the Ministry of Environment, took up one of these projects and secured funding from GCF, and they are actually in the implementing phase. So this is, again, the partnership that's leading to implementation of these projects. And again, we did this, it's not moving. Okay, in Lebanon, and another watershed, in Al-Kabir watershed, which is shared between Lebanon and Syria. And again, in a basin in Al-Jarwa in Algeria. And there, some of the recommendations, for example, were the reuse of wastewater and rainwater for improving resilience of communities. So this is just gives you a quick idea of what we intend to do from this project and building on the knowledge that we've amassed in the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Ziad, for the brief introduction of what the component of water scarcity initiative intends to do. Practically speaking, guidelines that are developed in a participatory way and a pilot of the guidelines to finalize and refine the methodology to be implemented at the regional level. So, and also assessing the impact of climate change at basin level based on the flagship project of ESCWA that looked into vulnerability assessment in Lebanon and Algeria. And the purpose is to devise climate resilience packages for climate policy planning for adaptation and mitigation. Thank you, Ziad. And we'll call now Dr. Walid Zubari, one of the veterans and one of the champions of groundwater governance in the region, with a tremendous experience in the GCC, but also in the entire region. Dr. Walid, Tfadal.
Good evening. Happy to be with you here today. Dr. Ziad asked me to give an overview of the status of groundwater governance in the Arab region, which is it's a survey, or let's say a diagnostic that we have done. I think it was sponsored by the World Bank, and it was UNESCO, FAO. A lot of people were involved. So I will try to give you a very brief, so to set the stage for this session. You don't have to listen to this presentation. Just I have only one take-home message. If you take it, that's enough. The groundwater challenge is not technical one; it is governance. So that's the main message. Whatever I'm going to be saying is just I'm going around that message. So if this works. It's not working. Okay, it's slow, I think. But anyway, I think everybody knows that, groundwater is different from surface water and, poses a lot of risks and constraints in its management. So I'm going to be just giving a quick brief on that, and then just to give you an overview of where the groundwater is contributing to our water budget. Then what are the main challenges and what are the priority areas as being posted by the countries themselves. And then I will just show you a simple example of a case study from Bahrain, what's really missing and where are the gaps in our governance, and hopefully we'll have quickly conclusion recommendation. Okay, I think after a long period of time, we started to have groundwater, being advanced in the international agenda. If you go back 20 years ago, 30 years ago, groundwater was not even on the scene. But I think now, wherever you go, you can see that the groundwater becoming the centerfold of a lot of agendas. And I think there was also a groundwater conference in New York, I think 2 years ago or 1 year ago, just for groundwater. And that's a good thing, that we have started to see groundwater taking its place as a major resource. The problem with the groundwater, it is invisible. And that's why the 2022 theme of the World Water Day or the report was making the invisible visible. That's very important for us. We face a lot of problems in convincing decision maker or explaining to decision makers what is groundwater, not only for the public, but also for decision makers. It is very complex to assess. It's hard to manage. It is very costly to monitor. It is not like surface water going in one path. It's highly distributed, and you have to really, if you want to manage something, you have to measure it, and it is very expensive. And once it is damaged, it's very hard to rehabilitate. So if you just look quickly on groundwater in the Arab region, we'll find that, compared to the surface water, there's not that much being used overall. So you can see that most of the water that we rely on surface water. But with time, with the depletion of surface water, with the climate change, with a lot of dams building on the upper gradient, we started to see that the more countries like Syria were going to groundwater, Egypt going to groundwater, people are just moving to groundwater as a resort. And that's, if you take the GCC, country, you will find that the main source of water is actually groundwater. The problem is that we have a lot of non-renewable groundwater, and we have renewable very limited, but we have a lot of non-renewable. And once these are being utilized, they will be gone. So they are like oil. You have to use them as a maximum. You have to maximize the benefit. There is a lot of consequences of groundwater loss. You will be losing a lot of, there is a lot of value for the groundwater that when you lose it, you will be losing. And I just put a number of issues that we can, I'm trying to go directly to the main challenges. So what are the main challenges that we are having in the Arab countries based on the questionnaires by the countries? This is a diagnosis done, a questionnaire done by the countries, and this is the main issues that they are facing. First of all, there is no groundwater, policies and legislation, and if they are, they are not adequate. And if they are there is no political will to implement them, because there is an interface with the socio-economic of the people. And to deal with the people, with the farmers, with the people who are using groundwater, it is very hard. And normally, politically, you don't want to push them. The other thing is there is very limited funding for groundwater. Groundwater needs a lot of money and funds for monitoring, for management. And this is actually, normally it's not there. There is also weak groundwater institutions. There is fragmentation of responsibilities, and there are weak coordination between involved sectors. There is, as I said, inadequate understanding of the groundwater systems. There is a limited community participation. Although the real manager, actually the well owners, we still don't deal with the well owner, and we look at command and control, and all things don't go right. And there is the weak monitoring system is the main thing, that you don't know what's going on actually. The groundwater, governance priorities in the Arab region, as been extracted from the country's questionnaires, have been divided into 4 categories or departments. The first one is the technical level. It has to, we have to improve our monitoring. We have to protect our groundwater systems. We have to build the capacity, and we have to look at the conservation, and we have, of course, we have to use models to really manage those aquifers. At the technical level, there must be clear groundwater policies and strategies, and we have to have, if we have legislation, I think having legislation is not an issue, but I think enforcing it is the main obstacle here we are facing in the Arab countries. Regulating the obstruction is also an important thing, and I think probably one of the success stories that we started to see is in Saudi Arabia, when they put a law, the water law, and the groundwater. It's very clear, indicating that the owner of the land doesn't own the water below. He is only a user for the water, and he has to take a license to use it. So the water is owned by the government, and you have the right to use it as per our instruction and not as much as you want. This is, I think, a new development now happening, that you take the water right from the owners and take it back to the governments. Infrastructure, of course, there are a lot of, groundwater doesn't have a lot of recharge in our region, and we have to really look at artificially recharging the groundwater and through either MAR, managed aquifer recharge, or dams. And there, on the social, political level, I think the awareness is very important, and the engagement of the stakeholder is a must. I'm just going to give you an example of a diagnosis that we have done for the groundwater management, and level in Bahrain. If you see the curve going up and going down, this is the development of groundwater resources until you cut or you hit the safe yield of that. And the World Bank has done this nice framework, saying that if in each stage of the development of groundwater, there is a management interventions that need to be made. And they start from the very relaxed, to the very strict. And what you need to do at the technical level, at the institutional level, at the governance level. And if you look at all the aquifers that we have, at least in the Arabian Peninsula, you'll find most of them are in 3A, which is at the end of, so we are overexploiting our aquifers. And if you look at that, you will find that you need to do a certain things, and I'm going to be spelling them out. In Bahrain, it's very clear that we are in this. We are very clear, and all the GCC countries are in this region. There's no single country, and even maybe in the Arab region, that are before 3. All of them are in here. And if you are in here, you have to actually implement those regulations, those management interventions. But if you look in reality for each one of those, levels, and if you look at 3A, okay, this are the management needs. And if you look at what you are doing actually in reality, okay, if what you are doing in reality, are you in 3A or you are before? And you'll find that most of our work in the technical side is really reaching 3A, but most of the governance and institutional, we are really, really way behind. So for instance, we still don't give groundwater values. We still don't give the abstraction rights its importance. All these things we are really behind. It's like we are dealing with an aquifer in its first development stage. And this is where are the missing major deficiency area in groundwater governance. So we really need to solve this problem before we really can think about the technical side. In conclusion, as I said, the governance and management issue are the important, not technical. We graduate beautiful, very highly skilled technical people in the, from our universities. They are very good hydrogeologists, they are very good engineers. But when you go to the governance level, I think we are lacking that. This is very important, visually, whatever it is, but you have to really work on it. The capacity building is very important. We should not let the farmer or the user, whatever it is, be off the hook of the groundwater value. You have to at least use him as for self-reporting if he cannot monitor. There are modern technology now in groundwater, management that you can have Internet of Things. You can really monitor a lot of spatial, data remotely, and we should start to capitalize on that. And I think we need to emphasize the work of groundwater modeling tools. Thank you very much. I'm sorry if I have taken more than my time.
Impressive presentation. Thank you, Walid, for covering all those dimensions in a very short period of time. And it shows, I think, the salient points in the presentation is that not only try to understand what are the issues and the challenges, but it's also coming up with a package of interventions that can reverse the trend and make the groundwater management sustainable in the region. So we have with us online Mr. Alvar Closas, who is speaking from far away. He's talking to us from Chile today, and he will be presenting the groundwater assessment tool, which is part of the recommendations. That's what it has just mentioned. Now, Alvaro, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Hamo. It's a real pleasure to be amongst friends and colleagues after a few years since I've left the region. I'm joining you virtually. I apologize, from Colombia. And it's a pleasure to be back amongst friends, even though virtually. I'm going to basically present the assessment tool that Dr. Ziad presented. This is an assessment tool developed under UN ESCWA to better understand groundwater governance in the region. So I'm going to ask whoever is in control of the slides to please move forward. And I'll just be saying next when it's time to change the slide. Thank you very much. So can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So in the Arab region, as my colleague Dr. Walid covered very well in his previous presentation, the implementation of effective groundwater management to reduce abstraction continues to be problematic. Basically, the effects of poor implementation of policy and rule enforcement across the region are notable. The lowering of water tables, the decrease and decline of groundwater levels have resulted in the decoupling of groundwater and surface water systems. And this has had a knock-on effect on many other sort of socioeconomic systems, as Dr. Walid mentioned. We do have, in some cases, a sophisticated toolbox of policies and regulation that exist. There's some advanced laws and regulations across the region, but sadly they remain on paper. From the academic side and from the more technical side, we also have a range of groundwater governance approaches and definitions, but they lack practical implementation. I would argue, though, that few have actually thought about how to practically implement those definitions of groundwater governance in a way that is relevant and applicable and useful for decision makers. So for me and for the project that I'm presenting, I believe that this is out of these challenges, we also have an opportunity to design a new generation of policy and management tools that can allow state-led programs and groundwater users and decision makers out of this impasse and into a regime of future sustainable groundwater use. So linked to this opportunity, I think, comes also a need to rethink existing groundwater regimes, groundwater governance regimes, and to think about how we can use governance structures more effectively to improve long-term management of the resources. Next slide, please. So very briefly, I'm going to introduce the concept behind this assessment tool, which has to do with how we understand groundwater governance. So for the purpose of this project and the assessment tool, we define 6 basic and clear dimensions for groundwater governance. One is the physical dimension. This has to do with resource availability and knowledge of the resource. Number 2 is resource management. This has to do with the rules, norms, to manage groundwater, the management and technical expertise in-house in the departments or ministries, and how we define groundwater rights, groundwater abstraction, licenses, etc. Third is the political dimension. This has to do with power and decision-making and the groundwater users involved in abstracting the resource and their dynamics between them. Number 4 is the institutional dimension. Here we look at existing institutions in place to regulate groundwater use, the level of organization of stakeholders, the rules around aquifer management at a larger scale, elements of public participation, and specifically, a particularly important point to me is the essence of compliance and enforcement and monitoring arrangements of those groundwater users and groundwater abstraction. Number 5 is the economic dimension that we measure or that we assess in this assessment tool. This has to do with groundwater-dependent economic sectors, agriculture mostly, but industry as well. What type of volumetric control and fees are there in place to monitor and control groundwater abstraction, and also the type of subsidies that come across. Could be cross subsidies or direct subsidies to abstraction, or obviously food and agriculture production. And number 5 is science and information. This has to do with the level and understanding of data and the use of data to better inform decisions and management of groundwater, and also the access and transparency of that data for the scientist, the common user, the groundwater farmer, etc. So with all these 6 dimensions, the tool we developed is built around these. And basically, as they interact with each other, these dimensions, I argue, are responsible for groundwater use, allocation management, and those relevant interactions between actors in the system, and also the resulting outcomes in terms of resource depletion, environmental impact, etc. Next slide, please. So the assessment tool itself can help governments and stakeholders in the region to, 1, understand the existing governance systems around the use of groundwater for agriculture in the Arab region, and 2, to strengthen groundwater governance by identifying challenges, opportunities, gaps, and areas of improvement. The assessment tool is not meant to be prescriptive. We're not supposed to lessen anyone, but the tool basically is built first and foremost to identify country-specific groundwater governance issues and challenges and to act upon them. The tool is purposefully designed to be used to understand a number of relevant issues pertaining to groundwater governance, so that national and subnational partners in the region can better act and can better basically improve their systems. And secondly, the assessment tool is also aimed to support national partners and governments in highlighting special areas of improvement, so that dedicated programs and policies can be developed to better manage the resource. Next slide, please. Thank you. So what does it look like? So this is, as I think in startup language, you would call it the beta version, I think. It has to be tested, as my colleague Dr. Ziad mentioned, in a case study in Morocco. But basically, the tool is built around a simple questionnaire which defines different implementation objectives linked to each one of those 6 dimensions that we've defined before about groundwater governance. We have specific components of each, or subcomponents of each of those 6 dimensions, as I introduced earlier. And for each component, we have a series of very simple defined questions. And we have also subsequent measurement units to verify and specifically sort of control those questions. The survey is to be rolled out through our partners on the ground and across the region, as I said, tested firstly in Morocco in a case study. The results from the assessment are to be collated by the project management team and analyzed. And since the purpose of the assessment tool is not to develop a specific index-based analysis, we intend to use the results from each of the assessments to be qualitatively analyzed by the project management team and specific results released and published. And to facilitate the analysis, a simple scorecard and rating for each of the dimensions and components of the groundwater governance assessment tool will be established. And the scoring will be based on a trend rating system, not to be compared between countries, but as I said, to help each of those countries and partners to better understand and better improve their own groundwater governance systems. And with this one, I'm done. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Alvas, and thank you for being with us in this very early morning in your part of the world. And the tool is a practical instrument that takes into consideration 6 basic dimensions that cover the complexity of the groundwater governance. And what we can draw from the previous talks and from Alva's talk is that groundwater management requires effective governance, and it's a complex system that needs complex instruments and solutions, and the tool is one of them. Thank you again for sharing with us this information on the assessment tool. With no delay, one of the innovative case studies in the region is the Sus Mesa project as an example of what aquifer contract can do in improving the effectiveness of the governance, and how does it work, and what are the issues facing the participatory aquifer contract project in Morocco. This will be covered by Mrs. Ibtissam Hashash, hydrologist engineer in charge of monitoring participatory aquifer contract projects at the Ministry of Equipment and Water in Morocco. تفضلي.
السلام عليكم. شكرا السيد حمو لي المشاركة في هذه الجلسة وتقديم عرض حول حكامة المياه الجوفية بالمغرب. في بداية من المهم أن نتعرف على السياق العام للموارد المائية. فبلادنا تتميز بتنوع طبيعي ومناخي كبير ينعكس بشكل كبير على توزيع الموارد المائية بالمغرب. كما يبلغ حجم التساقطات المطرية 140 مليار متر مكعب سنوياً، إلا أن الموارد المائية الطبيعية القابلة للتجدد للتعبئة لا تتجاوز 22 مليار متر مكعب، منها 18 مليار متر مكعب سنويا من المياه السطحية و4 مليار متر مكعب من المياه الجوفية. هذه المياه الجوفية تتوزع على 130 طبقة جوفية، منها 32 طبقة عميقة و98 طبقة سطحية. هذه الموارد الجوفية تلعب دور مهما في تغطية الطلب على الماء الصالح للشرب، إلا أن نسبة استخدامها مع الاستعمال الصناعي لا تتجاوز 12%، على خلاف الاستعمال الفلاحي والذي يشكل 88 من إجمالي الاستهلاك. فالموازنات المائية لأهم الفرشات المائية تبين أن المياه المستخرجة والتي تقدر ب5 مليار متر مكعب تفوق بكثير الأحجام القابلة للاستغلال، ما ينتج عنه إفراط في الاستغلال بحوالي مليار متر مكعب في السنة. هذه الوضعية أدت إلى انخفاض مستوى المياه في الطبقات المائية وتقلص مخزونها، حيث سجلت بعض الطبقات المائية انخفاضا يصل إلى 5 أمتار سنويا. كذلك هذه الوضعية أدت إلى مشاكل إلى تدهور جودة المياه نتيجة التلوث الفلاحي الصناعي والمنزلي، إضافة إلى تحديات أخرى نذكر منها ضعف التغذية للطبقات الجوفية بسبب تعاقب سنوات الجفاف، تعدد المتدخلين في تدبير المياه وصعوبات التنسيق بين هذه الأطراف في تدبير الموارد المائية، وأخيرا والنقطة المهمة وهي ضعف مراقبة عمليات الحفر والاستغلال باعتبار المياه الجوفية موردا ذا ولوج حر. أمام هذه التحديات أصبح من الضروري وضع استراتيجية كاملة متجددة من أجل تدبير وحكامة جيدة للمياه الجوفية تضمن الحفاظ على هذا المورد الحيوي وتأمين استدامته للأجيال القادمة. فاستراتيجيتنا الوطنية للمياه الجوفية تقوم على 3 محاور رئيسية، وهي تدبير ومحافظة وحكامة المياه الجوفية، ثانياً تقييم ومراقبة وتتبع المياه الجوفية، وثالثاً الاستكشاف وتحسين المعرفة بالمياه الجوفية. كما يندرج ضمن هذه الاستراتيجية البرنامج الوطني للتزويد بالماء الصالح للشرب والسقي، والذي يهدف إلى تسريع الاستثمارات في قطاع الماء بحلول سنة 2027. ويرتكز هذا البرنامج على 5 محاور نذكر منها أساساً تطوير إمدادات المياه وتدبير الطلب على المياه وترشيدها وتثمينها. ضمن هذا المحور الثاني وضعت الوزارة برنامجاً خاصاً لاستكشاف وتحسين المعرفة بالمياه الجوفية، إذ يهدف هذا البرنامج إلى تعزيز المعرفة حول الخصائص الجيولوجية والهيدروجيولوجية للفرشاة المائية، الإنتاجية وكذلك الجودة. كما يتكون هذا البرنامج من إنجاز الدراسات التقنية وكذلك حفر الآبار، وكل هذا من أجل تعبئة المياه الجوفية. بالنسبة للميزانية المخصصة لهذا البرنامج فهي تعادل 100 مليون درهم سنويا، أي 10 مليون يورو سنويا. كما وضعت الوزارة برنامجا آخر مستقلا يهدف إلى استكشاف الطبقات المائية العميقة، الهدف منه هو تخفيف الضغط على الطبقات السطحية والمتوسطة، وكذلك تنويع مصادر المياه الجوفية. بالنسبة لهذا البرنامج فهو يعطي الأهمية أو الأولوية للمناطق ذات الإمكانيات الجوفية العالية، وكذلك المناطق التي تعاني عجزا مائيا مهما، وكذلك وعلى الخلاف المناطق التي تشهد استغلالا مفرطا للطبقات المائية. بالنسبة للميزانية المخصصة لهذا البرنامج فهي تعادل 50 مليون درهم سنويا، أي 5 مليون يورو سنويا. في إطار تضافر هذه الجهود وضعت الوزارة برنامجا آخر وهو برنامج التغذية الصناعية للفرشاة المائية، والذي الهدف منه أساسا استعادة التوازن الطبيعي للطبقات المائية الجوفية وارتفاع وكذلك الحد من تقدم المياه الملحية بهدف حماية جودة مياه الطبقات الجوفية الساحلية، وكذلك تقليص ضياع الموارد المائية السطحية المتجهة نحو البحر، وأخيرا تقليص ضياع المياه الناتج عن التبخر خاصة في المناطق ذات القدرة التبخيرية العالية. حاليا تم إنجاز تقريبا 7 مشاريع في مختلف مناطق المملكة. كما تعتمد الوزارة على تبني نمط جديد لحكامة المياه الجوفية يرتكز أساساً على المشاركة والانخراط والمساءلة بين مختلف الفاعلين في إطار تعاقدي متفاوض عليه، وهو ما يسمى بعقد التدبير التشاركي للفرشاة المائية. هذا العقد يأتي تنفيذاً للمادة 115 من قانون الماء رقم 1536، والذي تحدد بوضوح برنامج العمل، أهداف هذا البرنامج، مدته، حقوق وواجبات مستعملي المياه، وكذلك كيفية التمويل وآليات المراقبة والتتبع. فعقود الفرشاة المائية تقوم على عدة إجراءات عملية أذكر منها أساساً إحداث جمعيات لمستعملي المياه الجوفية وإشراكهم في اتخاذ القرارات وتطبيقها. كذلك يهدف هذا البرنامج هذا العقد إلى تحديد حصص المياه الجوفية لكل هكتار ومراقبة هذه الحصص حسب الوضعية المائية عند بداية كل سنة هيدرولوجية، وكذلك إعداد وتحديد الدراسات التقنية المتعلقة بالفرشات المائية، وأخيرا تخفيف الضغط على المياه الجوفية باللجوء إلى موارد بديلة كالمياه الغير الاعتيادية. في الوقت الحالي تم التوقيع على 5 عقود فرشات مائية، فيما توجد عدة عقود أخرى طور الإعداد والتوقيع بمختلف مناطق المملكة في أفق تعميم هذا النموذج على باقي الفرشات المائية. في الوقت الحالي نعتمد على دورية وزارية كإطار مرجعي لتفعيل عقود التدبير التشاركي، وذلك في انتظار صدور المرسوم الخاص بهذه العقود والذي حاليا في طور المصادقة. مراسم متعلقة 3 مشاريع مراسم أساسية تهم أساسا التشارك الذي تحدثنا عنه سابقا، المناطق التي تكون لها، وأخيرا المرسوم المتعلق برخص الحفر. بالنسبة لهذا المرسوم فهو يهدف أساسا إلى تشجيع شركات الحفر على التصريح بشكل منهجي بالأشغال الموجزة لفائدة الوكالات، وكذلك إلزام الزبناء بالحصول على ترخيص للحفر، وأيضا ضمان إنجاز أشغال الحفر وفقا لأفضل الممارسات المعتمدة، وأخيرا حماية جودة المياه الجوفية وتوفير جرد شامل لنقاط المياه. في الختام يمكن القول بأن المياه الجوفية تشكل ركيزة أساسية للأمن المائي خاصة في فترات الجفاف، كما أن إشراك مستعملي المياه أصبح في التدبير التشاركي للموارد المائية أصبح من الضروري لضمان الاستدامة للبلاد وحماية مصالح الأجيال القادمة. ومن جهة أخرى كما أن التنوع الكبير الذي يميز المغرب يستدعي المزيد من الدراسات لفهم أفضل الخزانات الجوفية ودعم أسس الحكام الرشيدة في تدبيرها. ومن جهة أخرى فإن تطوير البحث العلمي سيسمح بإنشاء أنظمة دعم القرار من أجل تدبير جيد للمياه الجوفية. وأخيرا تبقى ثقافة الوعي والمسؤولية عنصرا محوريا للحفاظ المائية وتصحيح مبادئ الحكامة المستدامة من أجل مستقبل مائي آمن.
Inspiring for the rest of the region is that it works, and the work is done at multiple dimensions in science and information and data, legislation, and inclusion. That's the key word, and the participation of the users in decision making and collective engagement in preserving and conserving the resource. Thank you. Gisam, the presentation. Water and surface water in the region, and for this we need to make basic on role of science in informing the surface water and ground elaboration. Sorry.
Thank you very much to give my presentation, and course, climate change will impact all sectors, ground water, surface water, agriculture, our water and agriculture resource, and of course, for sustainability in the region. Of course, when we have scarcity of water, this will lead to conflict. This will lead to migration. So resilience is important to stabilize this country. And to sustain groundwater, which we heard a lot level. But of course, to build this resilience. And actually, now we have a lot of tools. Missing data, we have the Google Earth Engine, we have the AI tool. Now, we don't need a lot of climate station to have data to calculate crop water requirement, where provide it is zero. We don't need KSA, for example. The crop coefficient, we can it's all, we use all this at XAD actually to estimate the impact of climate change and to propose to This is true on daily basis, but is not true for the whole season. We found from modeling we did, of course, we use like aqua crop model, the crop cyst model. We use this model to see the impact on the crop yield, on the crop water requirement, on the length of the growing period. Of course, most of the time we found there is reduction in the crop yield. We have reduction in the crop lengths, crop cycle lengths. We have reduction. So in total, it's not necessary to have increase in the crop water requirement. This is very important, result. Science here, came important of science. Actually, we cannot come to this conclusion without modeling, because modeling, it takes all element in consideration. Therefore, we found, for example, in Lebanon, apple is a very important crop in Lebanon. We found that with the projected climate change, reduction could be reached to 48%. Why? Because apple, it need a lot of low degree, below zero. And with climate change, maybe we'll not have this required frozen days. For wheat, we found in Algeria, in Morocco, in Syria, reduction due to climate change might reach 25 to 28%. Of course, why we use aqua crop and the crop cyst? Because aqua crop will work only for a crop, like what a crop cyst we can use for tree crop. So always we use several or variety of tools for this. Actually, this year, I guess the number reached more than 50 training courses we did in the Arab region in different topics, not only water, and we have the plant, animal, etc. So we try to disseminate, outcome of this project I mentioned to the Arab country to train engineers and farmers to build the capacity, to apply resilience in our region. Of course, based on the outcome of this modeling, we developed a lot of adaptation measure, simple adaptation measure like adjust sowing date, to reduce the impact of climate change. Of course, at ACSAD, one of icon of ACSAD that we developed a lot of variety for wheat and barley, which are resistant to drought and tolerant to climate change. And we distribute, actually, when we came yesterday to Egypt, the seed developed by ACSAD to be tested at the Arab for adaptation. As conclusion, I will conclude Ziad telling me to stop. So science is as driver, decision must be based on evidence. And so we have to use the climate scenario, hydrological data, and socioeconomic assessment to build our decision and to drive policy. Of course, resilience is non-negotiable. It's very important to ensure the food and water security, and ACSAD contribute a lot to the region through what I mentioned, different projects, different assessment tools we apply in cooperation with our partner. And as I can say, ACSAD will remain committed to supporting Arab country to achieve water and food security under climate change. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ihab, for sharing the battery of information and data that is available, and also for the contribution of ACSAD in collaboration and cooperation with ESCWA on providing information on impact assessment, on vulnerability assessment, but also on adaptation solutions. And I'm taking this opportunity to invite the honorable audience to make use of RECAR Knowledge Hub that is providing customized products to countries ready for use. Basha, Director General at the Planning and Water Balances Office and the Ministry of Agriculture, Water Resources, Fisheries, Tunisia
to give me the basin in Tunisia. So I will present the Medterza Basin. I will speak a little bit about the climate change in Tunisia, the climate change in the Medterza Basin. What are the main technical adaptation measures that we take to for adaptation, and a slide about what we are doing with the ESCWA and all the partners in the framework of the water scarcity initiative. So, as you know, Medterza Basin is a shared basin between Tunisia and Algeria. He has a strategic role in terms of irrigation, drinking water supply, and industry. So the Medterza already stretched over about 500 kilometers, 350 kilometers of which are in the north of Tunisia, and it represents the only perennial wadi in the country. The Medterza Basin is located entirely in the climatic zone where the average annual rainfall is between 400 and 800 millimeters. And the Medterza Basin covers a total area of 23,700 square kilometers, of which 33% are located in Algeria. So the Medterza Basin represents 37% of Tunisia's surface water, with 9 dams with a capacity for 1 billion cubic meter. It largely ensures the drinking water security with an average of 150 million cubic meter per year, or 23% of total national demand on water supply. And the Medterza Wadi Basin ensures the development of public irrigated area, which about 80,000 hectares. For climate change, all the models show a clear decrease in water inputs in the different basins in Tunisia, which varies from 25 to 36% by 2050, and from 31 to 61% by 2100. In 2000, last year was the warmest year since 1950. The maximum, minimum, and average temperature was above normal in all seasons, and the annual average temperature reached 21.5 degrees Celsius. So we are in this our 6th consecutive year of drought in Tunisia. We have here the map of the deviation from normal for the rainfall. So for rainfall, it's in terms of irregularity, we have a random succession of dry years with deficits and rainy years with surpluses, and natural and anthropogenic vulnerability, which means that Tunisia suffers the consequences of climate change, with influence the availability and the quality of water resources, which causes a serious problem in the Medterza watershed. You have here from the 18 to 1984 to 2017 the rainfall, and you have in blue the rainy years, in red the deficit years, and in white the normal years. So you see that in the beginning, you have 1 year, one rainy year, one deficit years, and one normal years, and so on. And now we can have 3 rainy years, 3 deficit years, 3 normal years, and so on. So we don't have a periodicity of raining, normal raining. For the water, donc per habitant. So as you see, we have here a comparison with the Mediterranean countries, Greece, Italy, Morocco, Egypt, Algeria, Tunisia, and Jordania. So we are the threshold of absolute rarity is about 500 cubic meter per year per inhabitant, and in Tunisia we are in 420. So we are above this threshold of absolute rarity. For the stock situation in all our dams in Tunisia, we have from 2019 to 2041, and you see that we are in decrease. In last August, we are in about 23% of our stock in all our dams. We have here the major dams in Tunisia, which called Sidi Salem, and you see that the last season, which is in green, and the previous season, which is in red, that we are in deficit comparing that the year before. So the challenge that we have resources and needs or demands. The resources are not infinite and evenly distributed, and we should have quality. And the demands are important for many users, agriculture, industry, tourism, etc. And we can have user conflicts. So for Tunisia, we have find a solution, which is the water transfer from the northern dams in Tunisia, which are in the Majerda Basin. So for transfer, we have 2 systems of transfer. The system of transfer number 1, which are 11 dams, which are interconnected, and we can do the transfer from one dam to another with this system. And the second system, we have 3 dams with the Sidi Salem Dam, which is the most important dam, and then they can transfer the water until the region of Sfax, which is in the eastern center of Tunisia. So for the climatic context of Majerda, we have, in terms of temperature, we are rising temperature observed since 1970s. For the rainfall, we have decreased in the annual rainfall, especially in autumn and spring. And in terms of droughts, instead, we have increased irregularity of rainfall. We have alternation of intense episodes and prolonged droughts. All these trends modify the hydrological regimes of the Majerda River. For water resources, so we have decrease in average river. We have flow reduction in groundwater recharge, high evaporation in reservoirs, and increased pressure on water resources available for irrigation. So we have the same problem as Morocco, as my colleague presents previously. For water quality, we have increased concentration of salts and pollutants during dry periods, possible eutrophication of dams during periods of stagnation, and impact on agriculture productivity. In terms of environmental impact, we have recurrent flooding in the downstream areas of the watershed, prolonged droughts disrupting irrigation systems, and rapid alternation between excesses and deficit water. So we have water stress. In terms of socioeconomic impact, we have decrease of agricultural yields for cereals, olive trees, market gardening, etc. And we have resource management difficulties for various uses, agriculture, urban planning, and industry. So as possible technical adaptation measure, so we have the strategy 2015 for water, and we are since 2083 working. All our action are done in the framework of the results of the strategy. I have some copies of the summary of this strategy. If someone want to have copy, huh? No, j'ai encore une date. So our first priority for water drinking supply, donc that is the main priority. The second priority is for productive trees, summer crops, so on. We try to control the non-authorized pumping in the river of Majorda, mainly in the summer. We install quotas for irrigation for agriculture. We are working on modernization of irrigation networks. We are working on reuse of treated wastewater for agriculture. Now we are consuming only 7,000 million of treated wastewater, and in 2050 we aim to use 70% of the treated water produced, and we hope to use 580 million of treated water. Another point is strengthening groundwater recharge techniques, encouraging of low water consumption agriculture techniques, strengthening water governance at the watershed basin of Majorda, integrating the impact of climate change into water and agriculture procedures. And just a slide which we are to talk about our new work with the ESCWA and its partner in the framework of the implementation of the project component 2.7. So this component of the project will entail conducting a climate change impact assessment on water resources in Majorda as selected basin. So we had last August technical meeting, and we will work on an existing WIP model, and we will build on this model to have a new model for the Majorda basin. So the impact of assessment will be used to inform the development of a climate resilience package that includes adaptation and mitigation measures and policy guidelines for national climate change policy.
Thank you, Mr. Sinan. The climate change in Tunisia is already there. It's not a matter of projections and long-term planning. Luckily, there are already responses that are put in place, particularly the water strategy 2050 with its 9 pillars, and also the interventions of water scarcity components that you are implementing in Majorda basins. To our degree, we will have not much room for discussions, but the speakers will be available for any further discussion at the break and lunch time unless if Mohammed has any special request. Otherwise, again, I would like to thank our distinguished speakers for very informative interventions, and also to the organizers, and our appreciative thanks to Swedish SIDA for the support to water scarcity initiative and coalition. Thank you. I will hand over to Mr. Mohammed Abdallah for the closing of the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hammo, and please, we'll have the lunch. It has started 30 minutes ago, and I just wanted to let you know that we'll start, inshallah, here, the FAO session at 3 o'clock sharp, inshallah. Thanks and over.
How about
Check, test, test, test. Check, test, test, test. Check, test, test, test. Check, test, test, test. Check, test. Check, test, 1, 2, 3. Check, test, test, test. ايه اللي مش عاجبك؟ ما عندك. فاهمك. ده كده كده لازم تديله. Check, test, 1, 2, 3. Check, test, test, test. Check, check, check. Test, check. ده صوت جميل. لا انت شايف ايه؟ check test 1 2 3. لا يبقى تعمل كده check test 1 2 3 check test 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 كده ترفع. check